On the first day, we talked about how the disciples might have felt when they saw Jesus captured, arrested, and taken away. They didn't know what was going to come of it, and they knew this was more serious than the previous times when the soldiers had questioned, the soldiers had taken him, away from them. This was more serious than that. And we made the commitment. We said, I will trust God when I feel defeated. I will trust God when I feel abandoned. I will trust God when I feel betrayed. We talked about how we feel when God seems to have been taken away from us. Our security has been taken away from us. Or fellowship has been taken away from us. Those we were depending on are taken away from us. Or people make us feel betrayed. Oh, the plethora of human experiences and what we go through at our deepest, darkest moments. Christ has been there. The disciples have been there, and we learn from their faith as we journey with them. That was 3 days ago. I will trust God when I feel defeated. I will trust God in my brokenness. If Jesus can lay my sin if God can lay my sin on Jesus, I can leave my sin on Jesus. We talked about that and the powerful work of atonement on the cross for us. And then we talked about trusting God in the day between, in the darkest hour, between Friday and Sunday, between the death and the resurrection. What do you do when you don't know what God is up to? How do you respond? What do you cling on to when you don't know what God is up to? And we made a commitment saying, I will trust God in my darkest hour. I will remember what His promise is. Today, can we believe God for the impossible? Could we ever expect a resurrection? Could we ever expect new life? Well, Jesus said, He was in that situation where there was Lazarus, and then there was Mary and Martha. The people had gathered. Everybody thought that Jesus came late. This guy has been in the tomb for 4 days, and the sister comes to Jesus and says, "Oh Lord, if only you had made it earlier. If only you had made it earlier." Jesus was not the first resurrection. Lazarus was a previous resurrection. In fact, Jesus had brought people to the dead before that as well. So it wasn't a new concept. Resurrection wasn't a new concept. In fact, the Pharisees believed in the resurrection, believed that in one day there's going to be a resurrection. So what is new about our belief about Jesus? Let me tell you. They would learn that Jesus, as Jesus said, I am the resurrection and the life. I am the resurrection and the life. They would learn that the resurrection is not an event. It wasn't going to happen at a particular time or all at once. The resurrection is a person. The resurrection is the author of life who gives life to even what has died. The resurrection is the promise of life, even when we think death has devoured. Death has taken its toll. Death is the end. Death is the close of hope. The resurrection is a person and not an event. And Jesus turns to himself, points to himself, he says, I am the resurrection and the life. It's a person. So where that person is, the resurrection is going to happen. Where that person is, life is going to be induced. Life is going to be given. Life is going to be gifted. What has God taken you through? What have you experienced where you feel this is the end? I can't see any more good come out of this. Maybe it's a marriage. Maybe it's a ministry that has died. Maybe it's a dream. Maybe it's something that you have been trusting God for, like change in a relative, change in a loved one, a breakthrough in a circumstance. Maybe there's a part of you, the ability to forgive, the ability to trust again, the ability to love that has died. Maybe sin has killed it. Maybe betrayal has killed it. Maybe abandonment has killed it. Jesus said, the Son of Man has to be delivered, will be crucified at the hands of sinful men, and on the third day he will rise again. On the third day he will rise again. I believe God for the impossible. I believe God for the impossible. What is the impossible? The thing I believe has died. The person I believe has died. The relationship I believe has died. Where my eyes believe I can't see a future. I can't see anything further anything good coming out of this. That's where Christ can breathe life into my dead dream, into my deadness of my own spirit, of my own soul. I believe God for the impossible. Jesus said, I am the resurrection and the life. Resurrection is not an event. And where Christ is, Christ brings resurrection. He can bring life to what sin has killed. Hear me. He can bring life to what sin has killed. If Jesus can kill sin and rise again, he can bring life to what sin has killed. In the day that you sin, you will surely die. Remember that? It is our sin that has taken us far from God. But as far as the east is from the west, so far had he removed our transgression from us. Are you getting the connection here? Sin destroys. Sin takes you far from God. Sin darkens your understanding. Now everything that sin does, Christ can resurrect. Everything that sin has destroyed, Christ can bring back to life. He calls to life those who are dead to him. He calls to life those who are dead to him. So Jesus is able to say, post-resurrection, Jesus is able to say, hitherto have you asked nothing in my name, but ask that you may receive, that your joy may be full. So now you're talking to a person who has defeated death because he's life. He has come back from the dead because he is life. He has dealt with sinful men because he is life. He was delivered, but he delivered himself out. He did what that criminal asked him to do. He said, if you are the Son of Man, come down from the cross and save us. He did that, but he did it through death. He died and he came back from the cross and he delivered. All that was required was the faith of the other criminal to say, I believe you. Save me. When you come in your kingdom, save me. So you leave the process to God. You leave the desperation and the depravity to God. How far things have gone. You don't decide what can resurrect and what can't. You don't decide who can be saved and who can't. You don't decide what God can do. You believe God for a resurrection and God will bring it about. If Jesus died and rose again, there's nothing impossible with God. After that, nothing is impossible with God. You get what I'm saying? Number one, let's go back 3 days ago. I will believe. I will trust God when I feel defeated. Number two, I will trust God with my brokenness. I will deal with sin every day of my life, but I'm going to trust God with my brokenness. Number three, what we saw yesterday, I will trust God in my darkest hour, the day before the resurrection. And finally, I will believe God for the impossible. I will believe God for the impossible, because tomorrow, as we celebrate Easter, we will celebrate the fact that 2,000 years ago, Jesus rose from the grave. Jesus rose from the grave. He says, this temple, you destroy it. 3 days I will rise again. He spoke of his resurrection. He spoke of his death and resurrection. Jonah was in the whale, the belly of the whale. 3 days. He was out of there. Noah came through the flood and God saved him. There's always the trauma first. There's the horrific story. There's the story of brokenness. There's the story of sin, the failure and defeat of man. And when Jesus comes, he comes to save, and he brings about a resurrection even if there's been a death. So there is no end for God. You see what I'm saying? There's no point beyond which God is like, oh, it's too late, too far gone, I can't do anything. There is nothing that God calls quits on. Even in death, he says, what are you worried about? Mary, Martha, what are you worried about? Oh, you came too late. No. Even if he dies, you who believe in me, even if you die, you will rise again. We worship a God for whom even a resurrection is just another day. We worship a God who can deal with death, and He can deal with everything that death brings: destruction, defeat, fear, loneliness, abandonment. And He can deal with it, and He can break us out and break us through that and give us a breakthrough of a resurrection. I trust that your heart is encouraged through this. Why? Because you're going to struggle with difficult times. You're going to go through times where you feel like a Saturday before the Sunday. And you need to be able to get through strong enough, long enough, and endure, because there is a Sunday. Sunday is coming. Easter is coming. The resurrection day is God's finale. What a day it's been. What a period, what a journey of 40 days it has been. All to culminate, to climax, not on a curtain call, but a curtain rise. On a sunrise, as Jesus rises from the dead. And after that, there is endless hope. Endless hope. Because if there is hope in death, there is hope for eternity. Amen. God bless you. Thank you so much for allowing me to share these moments and share this journey with you. What a joy it has been. May the Lord bless you, and I really hope we'll meet again sometime. Thank you once again.